Hi, this is Tom Schuman, and welcome to Music Conversations on Jazz. Back in the year 2007, my friend Wade Erickson and I produced 10 of these, and I thought it would be nice to re-release them. So sit back and listen to our Conversations on Jazz.
Welcome to Music Conversations on Jazz with your host Tom Schuman of Spyro Gyra. Tom's guest for this week is Grammy Award-winning jazz piano player and keyboardist Bob James. Let's start off the show with an excerpt of one of Bob's most recognizable compositions on the latest Bob James CD, Angels of Shanghai.
Howdy.
Bob,
Hello, Tom.
how you doing?
Fine, thank you. And how are you?
I'm great. How's the weather over there in Michigan?
It's a little chilly today, but it's been great. It's been a really wonderful summer.
Wow.
Today is just kind of a little bit gray, but most days have been sunny and really nice.
You having a nice little summer break, or you're still at it?
Very much of a break. Maybe the biggest break I've had. I feel retired.
Oh, please don't.
No, I don't intend to, but it is nice to take a breather.
Your wife says you're in the studio, so you're really not taking a break.
Well, it's my lair, put
Yeah.
it that way. I like to spend my time over here anyway, even if I am on a break.
So is that what you do? Is that what you do for fun?
You know what? I guess we're all probably like that. I would imagine that you were the same. Music is my hobby, just like it is my profession. And this summer, my big thing has been aiming for a concert that actually took place last Friday. But I was invited to play with a classical artist, classical pianist named Frederick Chu, and we did a four-hand piano arrangement of Beethoven's Symphony.
Oh my goodness!
And it was a lot of dues for me practicing, but I really enjoyed it, and gave me an opportunity to get back and actually do some practicing because I've been very erratic with that in recent years.
Wow.
So this was basically one thing. I was going to do a Europe tour, and then that didn't work out, and basically just didn't book anything else other than a few little isolated things. And
you're going to Japan though.
In September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now is that with your quartet or is that with foreplay or?
With the quintet. Actually, it's going to turn out to be a sextet this time because I'm also taking a turntablist named Rob Swift, who I've worked with occasionally, and I'm kind of mixing up the music between my jazz stuff and this little hip hop project that I've been working on.
Wow.
So I'm kind of scattered into different areas of the musical spectrum this year.
Well, I got to tell you, I've been spending the last few days visiting the Bob James University. Let me tell you, you have an amazing body of work, and it's been a real pleasure to go back as far as Bold Conceptions and your work with Creed Taylor and CTI Records and David Sanborn and Grover Washington Jr. and Paul Simon, and the list goes on and on. It was, I must say, overwhelming. It's just a beautiful broad spectrum that you have approached on every project that you put your energy into, and the last two are just absolutely perfect. I mean, Angels of Shanghai and Take It From the Top, I think, are just masterpieces.
Well, thank you so much, Tom. The Angels project in particular was a very sentimental or very became a very important project to me. When I first started out with it, I didn't know exactly where I was headed, but I really got very emotionally involved in the young musicians that I met from Shanghai, and it just opened up my eyes in a lot of ways. I really had never paid much attention to China. I've been to Japan many, many times, but I had never performed in China. I didn't know much about Chinese history, and I kind of backed into the project in a way, going over to just do some research into the instruments and try to help out this Japanese friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And it was during the course of that I just became hooked and decided that I would try to figure out a way if I could make some kind of hybrid between their sounds and mine.
Yeah, well, I listened to, for instance, Angela, the theme to Taxi, everybody knows it.
Mm-hmm.
And my goodness, what a beautiful rendition of that. I can't say that I've ever heard a better rendition of that song. It's just absolutely stunning.
Well, it also came about a little bit accidentally because I had a kind of sponsor at the beginning who encouraged me to do the project, and one of the things that he said was that he thought that it would be a good idea to, in addition to writing new material, which is what I wanted to focus on, but that it would be a good idea to give the audience something familiar in this new orchestration or the new sound, so they get a chance to hear what something that they recognized would sound like. And
yeah.
And he suggested that theme, which is my most well-known piece. And the weird thing that happened, and I know you'll appreciate this, when I first set out to play it for the young Chinese musicians, I hadn't really paid any attention at all to the fact that my theme is, the whole first part of my theme is in this pentatonic scale, which is the same standard pentatonic scale that the Chinese people use all the time.
Yes.
And I just never really thought about that at all. And when I first played it for them, they related to it immediately. I'm sure it was because of that. And this, just like the first 12 notes, or whatever it was, just flowed right with them. I could orchestrate it for any of their instruments, and it was natural.
And the erhu is the instrument that played that melody.
Yeah, although it kind of went back and forth a little bit with the other instruments, trading back and forth on it. But the erhu was actually the first instrument that I really wanted to explore. There was a young musician there that this Japanese sponsor was very interested in, named JJ, playing the erhu, and he was just so brilliant that I really got hooked on the sound of that instrument. At first it seemed like it was essentially just a violin, and why wouldn't you go ahead and use a violin? But it's so different in the way that they approach playing it, and the sound is a very, very romantic, emotional kind of sound that it surprised me so much, because it was a very simple instrument, just has two strings, and it's made very much more simply than a violin is, but it's got a lot of depth and a lot of history.
And it's amazing that the musicians are so young. I mean, they play as though they've been playing them for 1,000 years, as long as those instruments have been around. It's really moving.
Absolutely. Well, I know I got the cream of the crop there. There had been some research done on kind of picking the best from the school of Shanghai Conservatory of Music, which is really, I guess, a variation on what Juilliard would represent here in this country.
Yeah.
And I did have a chance to experiment and play a little bit with some other musicians, and it made me realize how much, on what a high level the kids that I got a chance to work with were, because I started to take for granted that that the Chinese traditional musicians would improvise, or that they would be able to read our notation and everything. And that was the case with all of these kids. But then I got with a few others, and that was not the case at all. So I know that I had somebody really, really special with their ability to just be so open and enter into the spirit of what we were doing. And
wow. I mean, do you find that because they are angels of Shanghai that they were kind of sent to you rather than you searching them out?
Yes, I felt all kinds of cosmic stuff like that, and I'm not much of a thinker along those lines usually, but I just couldn't seem to avoid it. In this case, it definitely seemed like it was destined to be, and the name that seems extremely appropriate to me, even 4 years down the line after doing it.
Wow. Well, I notice you have a wine club, and it's very apropos because you are like a fine wine, man. I'll tell you, you just get better and better. You know, the older you get, and you even look better. I've noticed you've been using a skin cream or something. I've been watching you on your website. Your wife and your daughter inspired you to get healthier in certain ways, and I'm just really amazed at your ability to continue to look forward and to grow.
I think that I've been very fortunate to be in this field. I think we all are that have this opportunity to make music for people and perform it all over the world. I am old enough now that I can look back on decisions that I made, and I wouldn't second guess really much of any of them, because the time has been great. I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of great musicians and learn from them, and learn that each time you meet up with a new musician that you respect, you can learn something new, and I keep trying to do that all the time.
Yes.
And that was certainly the spirit with the Chinese project, to take myself out of the comfort zone, and not, because I never liked that idea of just relaxing and playing the same thing over and over again. And there is a pressure in some ways to do that. We know that the business end of our world, there's pressure to conform, and that the business people think that there is a formula that you should adhere to, especially if you've had success in the past. They say, well, that's what they want from you, so that you should do more of that. And to some degree, it's true. You go to a concert, and they do ask to hear the things that they're familiar with. Mm-hmm. But I believe that you got to stay ahead of them, and you're the one that's taking them on the adventure, not them telling you the adventure that they want, because they'll never find anything new if they take that kind of attitude. So I feel that as a responsibility, maybe to get a balance, or so that you don't just alienate them and force them into something totally different. But but I like to be driving this musical vehicle myself, and not have somebody else doing it for me.
I understand completely, and that's why I started Jazz Bridge Music, and I imagine that's why you started Tappan Zee.
Yes, I did. And in my case, Tappan Zee had to get reduced to the idea of more just a little production company type of thing. I tried to run it as a record label, but I realized that I really wasn't a very good record executive, and I far preferred being back playing the piano.
Yes. And is the piano that you play on Take It From the Top, is that the piano that you were just playing for me?
No, because I was using a Yamaha Disclavier, actually, on some of Take It From the Top, and recorded it in New York City.
Wow, it's just pristine. It's just so unbelievable. I mean, it's just a perfect sounding piano.
Well, that's in very large part due to Ken Freeman, who's just an awesome engineer, and he and I had developed a very, very long working relationship by that time, and talking about the piano and talking about what we both liked. And he worked with me in my home studio when I lived in New York for a long time, where we were constantly testing microphones and A-Bing and going back and forth and talking about it and different placements, nearer, farther, all that kind of stuff. And every time when I record, he's just constantly in that mode, and he's fantastic. He's really refined that piano sound, and it makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah, I can tell. I mean, it's as he should. That was a cut called Nardis off of Take It From the Top, Bob James' latest trio CD on Koch Records. Well, David Wilkes told me about this, the president of Koch, and about 4 years ago, he says, "Man, you've got to get the new Bob James trio thing." And I said, "Well, I'm on it."
Dave Wilkes is a great guy. He's a super guy, and he's been so good to me, so supportive of lots of different things, and he's a real record guy that definitely does believe in and allowing musicians to do their thing and be creative and everything. But I know that the Take It From the Top was a chance to pay my respects. I feel like we all have to start from somewhere and listening and copying and being influenced by our favorites, and this was kind of a library of me kind of going through and figuring out a way, how can I show this without attempting to actually play in their styles, but more just symbolically to do something based upon the people that I was listening to and all of that.
Well, you've been working with some great young people, obviously, from China, and also Ron Otis and Al Turner and David McMurray. I mean, all fantastic players. The last time I saw you, you played with them in Las Vegas here at the Suncoast, and it was a beautiful show. I really enjoyed every minute of it, and I, of course, enjoyed talking to you after. And you're always very gracious and personable, and I really appreciate you for that. And
well, I've certainly appreciated the friendship too. We've met each other in a bunch of different places over the years as a result of all this touring.
Do you remember? Now this goes back, but you remember the Yamaha GS1?
I do.
And I don't know if you the very first time I think I ever actually had a rapport with you was on the road somewhere. You had actually given me one of those little magnetic strips.
Oh, right.
It was a Rhodes. It was a Rhodes sound,
and it would slide in, and there was a little motor that made it slide in and out.
Yeah, and I still have that, Bob.
Do you really?
I don't have the GS1.
Have the instrument?
I don't have the GS1. I have the strip that you gave me.
You use it as a collar stay or something.
No, I just brag that Bob James gave me this, and to this day I thank you for that. It's a beautiful road sound, really.
That's a riot, boy. You just telling me that flooded back some memories. Actually, the one I traveled with was a GS2, if I have the numbers right. The GS1 was the big one that looked more like a miniature version of a grand piano. Yeah,
I had a walnut one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the GS2 was the kind of road case that was more like a Fender Rhodes.
Yes, and it was just an amazing thing. I mean, met so many people on the road, of course, and some people will give you their time and others won't, and you've always been a sweetheart.
The feeling is mutual, Tom.
do these
Yeah.
guys come about? I mean, do you just meet them on the road, or do they call you? You call them? How does this work?
It's always been a word of mouth thing for me. I've always believed in that. If ever I'm kind of in the market or looking or in need of new players or whatever, I'm just always sending out signals and listening to what other people tell me about who the new people are. And you do get your favorites that you can rely on, and very often we're in situations where there's not a lot of time to rehearse, so starting up with somebody new is more difficult. And
Right.
if I get just a few gigs, I'm always inclined to want to go back to the guys that have played with me enough in the past that they know the material. But there's nothing like finding somebody that's fresh and new and different. And I was trying to think back. I'm pretty sure it was Matt Pearson who first mentioned Billy Kilson's name to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just instantly, working with him one time, I knew that he and I would hit it off because we like to stretch and we like to surprise each other. And
Right.
he's one of those kind of dialogue drummers that the minute you play some kind of rhythmic thing, he's going to answer it back to you some kind of way with a fill that lets you know that he was listening and not just playing straight time
Yes.
through it.
Yes.
And as soon as we got those kind of dialogues going on back and forth, then I knew I had a fun rhythm companion to be working with.
Yeah, and James Genus as well. Just you guys, their chemistry for the trio is to me maximized on that record. I hope you feel that you are at your A game right now, because I'm totally impressed, and you are my hero.
Oh wow! Well, you're just too nice. You certainly making my day.
Well, I'm not being nice. I'm telling you, man. You're up there with Oscar Peterson and Keith Jarrett and Bill Evans and everybody else. I'm absolutely amazed by your work.
That's an awesome comment.
That was Nightcrawler off of Bob James Trio CD Straight Up, 1996 release on Warner Brothers. Features Christian McBride on bass and Brian Blade on drums. But anyway, getting back to what you have coming up. What's in the future? You're going to do some more acoustic stuff. I wanted to touch on the fact that you've been known so much for your Fender Rhodes playing. But I mean, how do you feel about the piano at this juncture in your career? Do you feel like you're going to be doing more piano work now than Fender Rhodes?
The further I get in playing, and the more I feel like that I just want to play acoustic piano every opportunity that I get.
Yes.
I enjoy the orchestration possibilities from doing a combination of both sometimes, and having the electric piano as a part of my concerts has been important when I play my songs from the past, because that sound is sort of expected from them.
Right.
But although the Fender Rhodes still has its major fans, and I became associated with it a lot, and so people expect that sound or some version of that sound from me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have a major love affair with it anymore.
Okay.
Nothing like I do with the piano. And every now and then a certain tune will seem like it feels right, but I generally, when I play electric piano, I'm still searching for a specific sound for that tune. So
right.
I'll use different. Well, I might use a chord on one tune and a motif on another one, or whatever.
So you don't really use an actual Fender Rhodes anymore. You use samples.
We did on a couple of tunes on a 4-play project recently. On my albums, I have not sought out to use a Rhodes, but I had a guy who was interviewing me for Keyboard Magazine. He kept talking about this new Rhodes thing that I have not tried yet. Have you played it?
I haven't played it, but it certainly looks beautiful.
Yeah, and he said that he thought I'd really like it.
I forgot the name. I forgot the name of the new one. Maybe you remember it. I don't remember it. But
I don't know. But
I'm going to research it after this interview.
Yeah, I do not know, but I know that they were bragging about how close it was to the original, and even better, and whatever. So, but I have not had a chance to try it.
Well, I read in your Keyboard Magazine interview that you've had to adjust your touch in order to get the best sound out of that instrument. And I learned a lot about how you approach each sound as you orchestrate it into your productions. And I mean, when I listen to, like, say, Joe Zawinul playing a Fender Rhodes, he attacks it like he hates the damn thing,
Yeah, I know, and there have been a number of pianists that I felt that same way about. Like, they don't really want to give up their fortissimo or their strong thing, and a good Steinway or Yamaha acoustic piano has so much depth.
Yes.
And so much you can play as heavy as you want, and you could have somebody with a huge range of dynamics, and it will take it.
Exactly.
But those other instruments, they just kind of blow out, and they become ugly. At least
and
to me.
they distort, and then the tines break, and
yeah, and all of that too. You have all those problems. But just from the standpoint of trying to play a melody or playing a sound and have it come out sounding right, I kind of liked the challenge of changing my technique and playing everything at whatever degree of less velocity,
right,
and having to change so that it would please my ear.
Right.
And I guess that maybe that's been an instinctive part of my playing for a long time without really thinking about it consciously. And I was so pleased with the guy that did the interview with me with Keyboard Magazine, because he actually had me talking about it and was asking me about it in a way that was forcing me into having to articulate what I felt, and it really made me go back and think of how all of that evolved, and I hadn't really thought about it much before that.
May I say, what I get from your playing on all instruments, and I mean this from the heart, is I get a great amount of consideration and love, coming from your fingers. And it's just something that I always get a warm, cushy, fuzzy feeling from you every time I hear you play. It's like a warmth comes in the room, and I know that there's somebody playing who really cares about me.
What a nice thing to say.
Well, it's the truth.
Well, I think when we are pianists, we have to face the fact that our instrument is a percussion instrument that has the history of being assigned to playing melodies, nevertheless.
Right.
And so we have to do all kinds of whatever magic that we can conjure up to have it sing, because the decay from one note to the next is percussive.
Right.
No matter how delicately you play it or whatever, there still is that aspect of it where a saxophone player wouldn't have that problem.
Right.
Or a singer wouldn't have that problem because they can crescendo on one note.
Exactly.
And we can't do that. So
Right.
we have to do all of everything else if we want to play romantically, which I think I do like to try to do.
You're getting ready to do some more with Earl Klug. I see in your website. Is there a recording coming up?
We just keep flirting with it. Earl's on the same label with me now at Koch and has a good relationship there, and I know Dave Wilkes at Koch has spoken about it a number of times, and it's probably just going to be scheduling. I know we both would like to do it, but we haven't really set a definite project for it yet, so it probably won't happen this year, but maybe early next year. I think it's time. We've done 3 collaboration albums together, but the last one that we did was more than 15 years ago.
one more question for you, though. I see that you stated in your Keyboard Magazine interview that Americans tend to not understand other cultures. And now more than ever, we need to be open to them. And I couldn't agree with you more. Statements like that make me really feel proud to be a musician, because I think we are the ones who are still sustaining the most beautiful product that America has ever produced. And it's the music out of this country that's kind of holding this whole world together. How do you feel about that?
I absolutely agree with you. I know we're lucky to be traveling around the world as a result of what we do, and we do get a chance to see and meet people from other cultures more than the normal American who's working in an American job and staying in one place most of the time. And there is this wonderful aspect of music being the universal language, where we don't have to be speaking and communicating with people in words.
Yes.
We're doing it in this other abstract, pure sense that really translates, and it's amazing to me how well it translates into cultures that I would have thought maybe impossible.
Right.
And the thing that I hope that I demonstrated with my Chinese project that I set out to do was that I didn't want this process to be a one-way street. For many years, I had been invited to go to different foreign countries just to play my music. So I went over there as an American jazz guy playing my own music, and the expectation was that they were coming to me to hear what I did. But I have felt more and more in recent years that it's also my responsibility to learn from what they do, and to make it be a two-way communication, so that hopefully I demonstrated that I would bring that back home with me and share it with my American friends, and maybe give them some insight about a culture that they wouldn't otherwise get, even if they went over there on a 1 or 2 week vacation and just saw the normal sights.
Right.
If I can do it through music or through showing that we can actually really collaborate with people in this culture and get to know that aspect of it, that I'm doing something symbolic to help bring the world together.
Exactly, and I'm also very intrigued by Middle Eastern music, and I think the more we make
Me
music,
too.
The more
Me
music
too.
we make with Middle Eastern, cultures,
Yeah.
maybe we
I
can
mean,
see
I'm not
the
sure
end.
I have quite the same courage to go into certain of those countries right now, but
Exactly.
if I did, and if we could, I know that we would be able to do a different form of good thing by communicating that, which has nothing to do with the war that's going on. It has to do with just basic human emotions.
Exactly, and we all are the same that way. One last question before I let you go. I heard you first when I was, I don't know, about 14 years old, 13 years old. You were playing a duet with Stan Getz. Do you remember that? I think it was Body and Soul. You guys played together.
No.
You don't remember that?
Where was it?
That's my question. I remember being introduced to Bob James.
Wow.
By listening to a rendition. It might have been Montreux Summit or something like that.
Yeah. I was a huge fan of Stan Getz, and then I had a chance to work with him more as a kind of coordinator, producer when I was A&Ring at Columbia Records, and I was involved in putting that concert, Montreux Summit, together over there, and that he was involved in, and we played together in a group. But I know I would have loved that, and maybe I did it, but
Wow.
I don't remember. And that's probably the song I would have chosen to play with him, too.
I've been racking my brains,
Wow.
Bob, trying to find that, and I cannot find it. And my friend from Buffalo, he's a jazz drummer. His whole family are jazz musicians. He played this for me, and it was just a gorgeous rendition and duet between this guy I never heard of and Stan Getz, and that's how I was introduced to you.
No way. And this was on a recording.
Yes, it is. And it might have been a bootleg. I don't know. But it was
Wow.
It was gorgeous.
Oh man, I would love to hear it myself.
Yeah,
I can tell you that I don't have it.
Well, maybe the Stan Getz family would have access to it somehow. I don't know. I'm just going to continue looking for it, and I hope
Do you know? Have you met or come across Beverly?
No, I have not.
His daughter has been doing a really nice job. She did a thing on MySpace, tribute to him, and has done some pretty nice work in carrying on his legacy. And
right.
Boy, you got me intrigued. I do. The last time I remember playing a duet several times with Kirk Whalum, that song.
Right.
And we played it at the Blue Note, New York, and we played it. I remember us recording it, and I sure would love to know if that recording exists with Stan Getz.
I am going to search that friend from Buffalo, and I'm going to find somehow this recording. If I do find it, I will send it to you.
Oh, please. That would be so fascinating to me, because I go back and listen to him all the time now with the notion of how he took the sound of the saxophone to a refined place that I don't think anybody's done since. And there aren't that many players that are even going down that path.
Right.
But you hear him play the simplest tune, and he gets so much out of it, and so many different colors, and there's so much.
Anyway, Bob, God bless you. Thank you so much for taking this time. And
Tom, I wish you so much success with your new adventure here, and I'm very flattered and pleased to be your first guest.
But the great thing is for me is that I get to know my comrades out there in the field, a lot better, and especially the people that I admire and I'm a big fan of, and you are one of them. And I'm hoping to one day speak to Oscar Peterson, who is the reason why I play piano, because my father was a bassist, and that's all we heard in the house was Oscar Peterson Trio. So
I was pretty much the same. But he was a very, very big influence on me too.
And there's another question of which I didn't get from your website. Was your family, in musically inclined? Your father, your mother?
Sort of. My father was a lawyer, but he played violin a little bit in college, didn't go into business. My mother lived in New Orleans and was kind of forced, when she fell in love with my father, to move to this small town in Missouri where he lived and move away from the cultural center. And so she kind of pushed music on me a little bit, but to get some culture back into her life. That was an indirect thing.
Wow.
But neither one of them were actually directly in the music business.
Well, I can see how it runs in your blood, man. You swing your ass off, man.
Well, you're too nice. I'm just happy to be doing it.
All right. Well, listen, you have a great day and have a great summer, and I look forward to seeing you again on the road.
Okay, Tom. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care, man. That was my very first interview for Music Conversations on Jazz. And it was a wonderful, wonderful time spent with Bob James. Up next, I will be talking to Jeff Koshua, great saxophonist and friend. Please stay tuned.